Hello, everyone, and welcome to Focus on Finance. My guest today is Joe Prather. And yes, there really is a Joe Prather. A lot of people don't realize that. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Terry. I'm proud to be here, and I love to visit with you. I know we go back many years, and so it's always a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. I want to get into some of the details about how you got started right here in Hardin County, and you've had a long career, a long successful career in government and community service, development of the hospital. There's so many things we can talk about, and I want to get to as many of those as we can, but I want to share a quick story. Rather than read your resume to everybody, just share a quick story about our relationship, our friendship from the very beginning. Andra and I started our business 36 or 37 years ago. We didn't have any money. We didn't have hardly anything. And the only person that actually helped us get started was Joe Prather. And we'll never forget that. And if it wasn't for that, I very seriously doubt we could have started a business. You're the one who made that happen and gave us so many breaks. But it's not just us. I know there are hundreds of people in this community that would say the same thing about their experience with you and with the people around you. Wally Bateman and those guys back in those days. So enough about that. Let's go right out to you, Joe. What brought you to Hardin County to begin with many years ago?
Well, I was born actually in South Louisville in November of 1939, so I'm 85 years old now, and but we were just there for a time because my dad had a job up there, and so he decided to move the family up there, and from Big Spring, Kentucky, which is down where Breckenridge, Hardin, and Meade counties come together. There's a monument there. And but we weren't there long until Big Spring looked awfully good to us, I suppose, because they brought me right back there when I was a baby, and been here ever since. Lived on a farm about 3 miles out of Big Spring that was owned by my uncle, my dad's brother. And my first 5 years of school, I went to school at a one-room schoolhouse in Big Spring, 8 grades in one room, one teacher. And people think I'm a dinosaur when I say that, but you know, it worked well. She used a system where she had the older kids tutoring the next class down and helping her, and you know, then when I was getting ready to go into 6th grade, they built a gravel road back in the country where we live. We live back in a place where it was just a dirt road, no electricity, no running water in the house. I mean, it was pretty primitive, but that's the way folks lived in Big Spring in those days, or at least in outlying areas. And so anyway, they started sending the school bus in to where I didn't have to walk 3 miles down and back to the Big Spring school anymore, and they took us down to Howell Valley Elementary School down on Highway 86. And I remember the first day I was scared to death. I thought, boy, all those kids will be so far ahead of me. But you know, when I got there, I realized that I was on a level with them, and I got a good education in that old one-room school. So, wow. But anyway, after my 6th grade year, my dad took a job and we moved to E-Town. I was here through my junior year in high school, and Dad worked down at the Olin Chemical Company in Brandenburg. So he decided that rather than all that driving, he needed to move to Brandenburg to be close to his job. Well, guess what? I'd gone to E-Town Catholic High for 3 years, and before my senior year, he moved. So that's when I said, well, I'm going back to the farm. So I went down, and my mother's older sister had passed away, and I went back to the farm in Big Spring and moved in with my uncle and lived there my senior year in high school, and went to Vine Grove High. So that's how I ended up back in Vine Grove, and then, there's a whole story about business, and of course, Vine Grove, Radcliffe, all blended together, particularly in those days, and I've just had a good run from there. A lot of friends, but my wife is from Buffalo in LaRue County originally, and so after all of our children had graduated from college and flown the coop, the old saying used to go, we decided to build a house here in E-Town so that she could be closer to family and friends in LaRue, and I could still be close to my surroundings in Vine Grove, Radcliffe. So
When we met, though, you were in a banking business.
I was.
And you were living in Vine Grove at the time.
Right.
And you had been in the real estate business, if I'm not mistaken. What's the story on that?
Well, when I was 18 years old, I started to work for American Air Filter Company in Louisville. It's located right where the Jim Patterson baseball stadium, the University of Louisville baseball stadium is today, and I worked there for 5 or 6 years. I decided I didn't want to sit behind a desk the rest of my life, and so I studied and took the exams, and when I was 25 years old, I took the real estate broker's exam, and I went and took the auctioneer's exam, and I started my own real estate and auction company, and I had that company for 26 years, and selling in Hardin, Meade, and Breckenridge counties, primarily Meade and Hardin, and had a good success at it. I mean, it was good, and but then in 1981, I had the opportunity to put together a group and buy what was then the Bank of North Hardin, small bank, $14 million in assets. I mean, that's deposits and all, and mortgaged everything I had. Called on my good friend Bob Cooper and Don Skeeters. They were my partners, and then Virgil Pierman was a partner with us for a couple of years, and we had an understanding going in that we would buy his shares within 3 years, which we did. So we had the Bank of North Hardin starting in October of '81, and then in 1985, we had the chance to form a two-bank holding company and buy the Farmers Deposit Bank in Brandenburg.
Oh.
So we suddenly had two banks, a two-bank holding company, and we grew those. But in 1992, Liberty National Bank out of Louisville came to us and made us an offer for both banks to buy them, an offer that I couldn't turn down. And so we ended up doing a stock exchange and took Liberty stock. And then Bank One purchased Liberty. And then Chase Bank bought Bank One, and we were along for the ride, and so that's where I am today. Instead of the Bank of North Hardin, Farmers Deposit Bank, I'm a shareholder of Chase. And
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So each time these transactions took place, you got stock in the new institutions.
That's correct.
That was an accident, but it worked out real well, didn't it?
Worked out well, and so, but along the way, real estate's always been in my blood, I guess, because I still have invested in a lot of acreage and real estate development land over the years, and developed some subdivisions and done that kind of thing, and so. But I'm just about down to where I'm out of all of that. We have a couple of subdivisions that we're finishing up on, and when they're finished, I'm finished. But I'm 85 years old, Terry, and there comes a time to hold them and a time to fold them. So that's where I am. I don't want to live anywhere else. I love Hardin County, and I told my wife that I said, if I die somewhere else, drag me home to Hardin County to declare me dead. So,
what about now you've been involved in a lot of different, let's say, community things rather than, outside of your business interests, which were very successful. The hospital seems to be one of the areas where your name comes up a lot. How did you get involved with that project?
Well, we were living here in E-Town back in 1953 or so, 52, 53, when the idea of building a hospital first surfaced. And I know they had us as kids. They gave us a little farm, and we were going out and selling bricks in the hospital for a quarter a piece, and we'd fill out a form and give it back to the purchaser. They owned a brick in the hospital.
Oh, I see. That was to generate the funds to initially plant the hospital?
Build a small hospital. I remember the room rate in those days was $14 a day. And it was, but that was like, I think it was built in 54, if I recall right. It was just, might have had 20 rooms. I can't remember the exact number, but it's always always had a special place for in my heart for Hardin Memorial Hospital, which is now Baptist Health. Excuse me. But so anyway, I went on. Of course, in the meantime, after doing whatever in business I've described, in 1967, I had been encouraged by some folks to run for state representative, and I was running against the incumbent in the Vine Grove, Radcliffe, Rineyville, Cecilia. It went all the way down to Eastview and over to White Mills and Flint Hill. It was a big district, and so anyway, I got out and knocked on every door, I think, and Mr. Jake Bell, who had retired from the Forestry Service and knew that rural part of the country like the back of his hand, he rode with me. I'd pick him up every morning, and away we'd go, and it was, but anyway, we managed to win that race, and so in January of '68, I was sworn in to the House of Representatives, and so I spent 6 years there. The second year I was there, I was the majority whip. I was elected to leadership, and I was 29 years old, I think, then. But they then in 1972, D. Huddleston had been our state senator, and he ran for the U.S. Senate and was successful, and so that opened that seat. And in '73, I ran and was elected from the district that included Hardin and LaRue counties. And of course, LaRue being my wife's home county, that helped. And her dad had been the sheriff over there, so we we got it going pretty well there, and so and then in 1976, then I was elected to the top leadership post in the Senate, and so I was there until my retirement from the Senate. I didn't run again in '86. I wanted to come home, take care of business, and be with my family more, and so so I didn't run again in '86 and came home, and but it was quite a run. I've been privileged to, and I've never forgotten the people that put me there, Terry, and it's and I've always thought of people like you when I think about people who have helped Joe Prather along the way. And you know, you say, well, Joe Prather helped me. Well,
Yep.
you helped Joe Prather too. So
I don't know about that,
well,
but
you
I
know,
know,
you've
I know
always,
you helped me.
You've always been positive, and you know, I have friends in both parties.
Sure.
And my dad was a strong Democrat, and my mother was a strong Republican. So, you know, it's I've had a wonderful life, an interesting life, and I'm not through yet, Terry.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So.
That's one thing I've always noticed about you, and I think everyone's noticed this, Joe. You're a very easy person to work with. You're not difficult, and there are a lot of people in politics that are actually difficult, and we know that. And you, on the other hand, come across as a guy with a lot of influence, a lot of knowledge, easy to work with, though. But you have your standards, but you're still easy to work with, I think.
Well, you know, some people gain certain positions, and I used to say, well, that's gone to his head.
That happens.
But I swore that I would never let that happen to me, and if it did, I was going to quit.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
you've used your influence, and you've generated a lot of influence from your success in business, your success in politics, your success in the community. And one of those things that you're still using that influence for is the development of the hospital and the footprint of the hospital. And just in Radcliffe a couple of days ago, in fact, when coming down here, they've already started construction of that new emergency facility right there on Dixie on the south end of town, which is a huge opportunity for the city of Radcliffe.
well, it's been a long time coming, but it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the people of Radcliffe to be served more fully and more conveniently. It's going to have a primary care space there, and then the emergency room. No telling what the emergency room will be worth. You know, it has to save lives.
Sure.
You can be there more quickly than you can come to E-Town, and
Absolutely.
of course E-Town is the fourth busiest emergency room in the state of Kentucky.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And so it is, and they see something like 75,000 patients a year.
Wow.
And so I think that some of those will spin off to
Sure.
Radcliffe, a significant number,
Think
which
so.
will be very helpful. And with another primary care site there, it gives 3 or 4 primary care sites for the hospital in the city of Radcliffe.
Sure
And
does.
all of that helps. And so it's Baptist Health seems intent on serving the entire population through this area here. And,
Right.
You know, they have primary care setups in Sonora, Hodgenville, Bardstown, and it's been my pleasure to stay involved with the hospital through the Baptist Health Hospital Foundation.
Oh, I see.
And so that's where my involvement is now. I'm not, I was president of the hospital or the foundation for several years, and a few years ago I gave that up, and now we have Mike Bowers, who's married to a Radcliffe lady, Dana Adkins she was, of course now Dana Bowers obviously, and just great people. And we have a board made up of people from all over that you know have, I won't say have influence, I don't like that word, but they just are able to reach out to
Wider audience, yeah, definitely.
Yes,
They
yes.
bring in different people. One of the things, back when the hospital transition was going on, of course, there's a lot of discussion about the transition, how it's going to work out. All of us are patients of Baptist Hardin, so all of us have now had an experience with that hospital, and I've been extremely impressed. I have my doctor in Radcliffe, Dr. Coffey, good friend. She's been.
I know Dr. Coffey.
You know Dr. Coffey
I
well.
do. Ramona.
She's friends with everybody, and she does a great job. She probably spends a little too much time with each patient, because if you're next in line, you might have to wait. But she is an exceptional person, and the whole system in that hospital, in the whole hospital network. So most of us have been in the emergency room there once or twice. So it's amazing how efficient and effective they are. So it turned out to be a brilliant decision, and now the expansion of the footprint in Radcliffe. So there's really a footprint on every corner of the city. So that makes people in the city of Radcliffe, as you well know, and you were a resident up in that area for a long time, sometimes they feel left out. And you know, that's not something new. That's not shocking information. But things like this, where there's millions and millions of dollars invested in this facility, makes people feel better about the hospital and about the government in general. And it's guys like you, though, that without you, and JJ and I were talking about that the other day, about how long this has been ongoing. It's taken a long time.
Yes.
And there's been more than one location considered. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seemed, this just popped up. And I was really glad to see it, and I know you were too.
Well, of course, my son Jody was Chief Strategy Officer with Baptist Health Corporate for several years, and he was constantly thinking of ways that we could serve, or that Baptists could serve the communities that they were in better. And Hardin County was he said, right here at home is a rare opportunity to.
Agree.
And not only that, but the new pavilion that's has the walkway from the original hospital there, and to see that just opening with all that's going on there, to see what's happening in Radcliffe, to see someone like you who's willing to say good things about one of the primary care providers, Dr. Coffey, that's there at the Wilson Road Gateway. That has been a real success for
Sure has.
for Baptist Health. So I think they're really wanting to do the right thing by serving the entire area, Terry.
I think so too.
But that being the case, it inspired me to stay involved with the foundation as long as I have. And so the foundation was, 2015 was, there had been a Hardin Memorial Health Foundation, but it really was many years ago, but it was pretty much dormant for many years. And so when it was reestablished back in 2015, and since that time, I like to say when I was chairman, before I turned it over to Mike Bowers, I always like to say that the hospital baked the cake and it was up to the foundation to put the icing on it. And when I talk about icing, I'm thinking of things like the neonatal intensive care unit, that level 2 that we were able to fund out here at the hospital. You know, there's nothing worse than young families who have several children and then they have a newborn. And prior to this being here in Hardin County, they had to travel to Louisville, and and it created all kind of issues with having children at home and having to travel to. So it's been a blessing.
It really has.
And there's money being raised as we speak, and has been raised to expand for future expansion in the NIC unit, and I think $1 million or so. So, but in the 10 years that the foundation has been reinvigorated, if that's the word, it's raised just shy of $20 million.
Wow, that's amazing.
19.9 million to be specific, and it's done things like help to attract the money that has created the sexual assault nurse examiner program operates with trained nurses to deal with that in the emergency room and that kind of thing. It's been just a stalwart in doing the things that make the new pavilion that Baptist Health built. The hospital is added the icing on the cake there with a lot of different investments there. That I know the chapel was funded by the Duplessis family in honor of John and Kitty Duplessis, my good friends, and and there are others over there that have stepped up, and so those are the kind of things that is being done.
Well, I can tell that's where your heart is, so I don't think you're going anywhere for a while. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up. You were right. This time went by very fast. But before we close, though, Joe, you have a tremendous amount of influence on younger people that are coming into business right now, people that are starting businesses. I spend a lot of time with people that are trying to start businesses. And hearing from somebody like you, getting some advice from somebody like you, they're not going to be able to get it one-on-one. But what would you say to a person trying to begin a business in the Hardin County area based on your years of experience in all facets of life here? What kind of advice would you give them in closing?
Well, I think the best thing that a young person can realize is that you have to take ample time to plan and to assure that you're going to be able to have the capital to make this work. So many businesses are underfunded from day one, and no matter how hard you work, it's you're just fighting an uphill battle.
Right.
And so there are programs that you can reach out to, and I know there's Terry, you probably, with your involvement with the Redcliffe Small Business
Alliance.
Group and all that, you probably are more up on that currently than I am, but at the same time, prepare yourself. Realize how, make a plan for how you're going to go to the grocery and pay the house payment or pay the rent if things don't take off right away. And you know, usually it takes time to build a business, and because you know there's competition out there. A lot of people have the same idea, they want to start a business. So,
Right.
but you know, that's the key: preparedness. Prepare.
And one other great advice I could give them to supplement that is you have to know somebody in the banking business that has compassion for other people. Work with bankers that are local, not necessarily local, but bankers that care about their communities. Not all do. We all know that. You find the right banker, you find the right lawyer, you find the right CPA. Goes right along with all the things that you said right there, Joe.
See, I said, Terry, you know a lot of the things it takes. Well, you certainly have hit them head on. Yeah, they, well, you know, the bank examiners used to question us on loans. Why did you make this loan? Why did you make that loan? And you turned this one down and you made this one. Well, there are some people, Terry, that you know their fiber. You know they're going to pay you. And if you work with them. And you know the ones that are going to throw their hands up if times get tough.
Right.
And you have to be able to sort those out.
Yep.
In the latter case, a banker doesn't need to go there. In the earlier case, full speed ahead, but the examiners have a hard time sometimes seeing that because they don't know the people.
Exactly.
So that's what I've found. It's true in banking. It's true in business of all kinds.
Probably your bank examiner, if they had examined the loan you made me, they probably would have given you a citation.
They may have asked me, Terry. I don't recall.
Joe, thank you so much for your comments today. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Well, it's always a joy, Terry. So anytime I can be helpful, you have my number.
Thanks again, Joe.